You're listening to a podcast from the Finnish Football Show.
Yes, it's the Finnish Football Show, and dear listener, I've got a cold. It's not man flu, it's not as bad as that, but I am a bit croaky, and so I'm going to try and do as little talking today as possible, which is why I'm very pleased to have two co-presenters with me today. Firstly, in order of when they joined the meeting, Ali Manson. Hi, Ali.
Moikka moi.
And the one and only Keke Mülleri. Hi, Keke.
Terve.
And I just told the boys if I have a coughing fit, I will mute the microphone. And listener and viewer, I'm assured that will also stop the spread of any germs as well. So you're safe. Don't worry about that. So today we're going to look forward to the upcoming Huuhkajat Euro 2024 qualifying games. It doesn't stop. So there's games coming up within the next week. So we're going to preview Finland versus Northern Ireland and San Marino versus Finland. We're also going to get Ali's ringside view of HJK's continuing quest in the Europa Conference League. We're also going to look at some news coming out of the Veikkausliiga. No sooner has the season finished than stories, financial meltdowns, and scandals come out of the Veikkausliiga. So Rich can't join us for the recording, but he's given us his thoughts and the news on on what's happening in the Veikkausliiga. So we'll hear from him a bit later as well. And I think finally Keke's got a little bit of Finns overseas news, particularly coming from Sweden. So we'll get that right at the end from Keke. But the referee's blown his whistle. You two seem raring to go.
Yeah.
Let's crack on with then the Euro 2024 qualifying campaign for the Finnish men's national team, the Huuhkajat. And a little bit of, housekeeping first. Two games coming up, Finland versus Northern Ireland at the Olympia Stadion in Helsinki on Friday the 17th of November, 7 o'clock kickoff, which is a nice, friendly time to watch a game of football, followed by Monday the 20th, at 8:45 finish time, in San Marino at the Serravalle Stadium. I've put in the blog post, there's links to where you can watch these games on Yle Areena, or if you're watching live, then on Yle 2 here in Finland. But Keke, should we start first of all by looking at the Finland squad, and maybe you can take us through who's in, and while you're doing that, we can look at who's out from the previous squad as well.
Yes, mate. Yeah. So three keepers. We've got Viljami Sinisalo, who's been doing decent things at Exeter City recently. Surprise, surprise, Lukas Radetsky, and then Hugo Ketto makes the cut as well. Same three keepers as last time. Jesse Joronen still making his way back from an injury, and Carl-Johan Eriksson hasn't had much of a look in lately. He's an understudy at Norgesland at the moment, so struggling for minutes there. That's the three keepers.
And obviously, you're wearing a Venezia shirt to send a bit of psychic power to Jesse Joronen, are you?
Yeah. Well, one Venezia player has made the cut. You'll, no surprise, I guess, who that is, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
But that's the keepers. I think we'll all expect to see Luke start the Northern Ireland home game, and then maybe Rive might give one of the others a little chance against San Marino. Who knows? Going into the defensive slots, we've got Jere Uronen, Richard Jensen, Artur Hoskonen, Tenho, Robert Ivanov. Who else is here? Nikolai Alho. Puru Soiri is named in the defensive lineup. Noah Pallas, Peltola, and Thomas Galvez of Manchester City. So, I'm not sure if this is his first squad or if he was included previously, but
I think he played in the training camp at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
He definitely had one appearance
Rings a
there.
bell. Rings a bell.
So he's a young, half Spanish, half Finnish Londoner.
Yeah.
Who, but
playing his trade in Manchester.
Yeah, playing for Man City, and I did a little bit of reading. There's not much to read yet, but he's 18, but he's been playing for Finland since under 14 level, so he seems so far pretty committed to that. And the other thing you mentioned, Matti Peltola, he's been named in this squad as a defender, but the previous couple he was named in midfield. It's small thing, but it's noticeable anyway that he seems to be considered slightly further back. Although with those rampaging wing backs, it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, really. Yeah,
I mean, I think we can all speculate who would start especially the Northern Ireland home game. Seems solid enough. It's good to see Jere Uronen back involved. Obviously he was involved previous squad, but yeah, it's nice to see him back. Bit of experience. Moving into midfield, we've got Robert Taylor, Glenn Kamara, Rasmus Schüller, Lukas Lingman, Kaan Kairinen. Robin Ludd is back in the squad after recovering from his injury and a bit of surgery that he had. He's been out for quite a while. Not sure he's even the MLS season's over, isn't it? Apart from those involved in the playoffs, so he's not been involved at Minnesota United recently, and straight back into the Finland squad after recovering from that injury and that surgery. So that's quite exciting to see Robin Ludd back in the squad. And then forwards are named as Teemu Pukki, the other Venezia man, Joel Poyanpalo, Benjamin Chelman, Daniel Hawkins, and Freddie Jensen makes a return. So both Jensen brothers in this squad. And Freddie was recently had a bit of a man of the match performance for Augsburg in the Bundesliga there. So that's getting the recognition it deserves, and he's back in the Finland squad.
Any thoughts about why he's been out? Has he been injured, or has it just been a form thing?
I think it's just been a form thing recent. To be honest, mate, I don't think not any injury that I've been aware of. He's been in and about the Augsburg squad, So.
And we got Ant-Man still out. He was in September, but out injured.
Yeah.
And Marcus Forss came in for the last squad, but played a little bit, but isn't selected this time. Any injury news there?
He's got an injury. Yeah, he's got a thigh injury. I believe it is, that will keep him out for a couple of weeks. Nothing long term, but sort of end of November style, So it's a funny one, Marcus. I thought, he started off really well at Middlesbrough, and I thought, that move there from Brentford, but down to the Championship, we'll see him get a bit more game time. But as I say, injured at the moment. He's chipped in with a few goals this season, so I don't think it'll be the last we see of him. But he's got a bit of a fire strain at the minute.
Yeah, they had a good year last year, didn't they? And this year, I think they've had a tougher time of it. So hopefully they can turn it around, and he can turn it around as well.
Indeed.
Ali, any thoughts on the squad before we move on to maybe look at opponents and formations?
Yeah, it was more of like a question really about Leo Väisänen and where we think his position moving forward. Is he carrying an injury? Because I'm not sure. I mean, I know he had a bit of a suspect performance in the last group of matches, but I still think there's a place for him in the squad. So for me, he was the only sort of quite big notable absentee that I was expecting to be named. I don't know, Keke, if you know if there's any updates about him, because then I was also thinking, well, are Austin FC still in the playoffs, but I believe that they're not. So, because of course, like with those games going on, you'd think, oh, well, maybe Austin FC wouldn't want to release him for the game, with all that kind of bureaucracy going on. So, yeah, for me, he was the only player that I was sort of looking at thinking, I do hope he hasn't been dropped just based off the performances from the last round of games. I would think that would be quite harsh.
Yeah, I mean, he played as recently as the 22nd of October for Austin. I think that was their last MLS involvement. They didn't make any of the playoff spots. I haven't heard of any. Obviously, Leo did have a bit of an injury, made his way back to the Austin side, and then straight back into the. We spoke about this before. Straight back into the fire with the Finland team. And we talked about whether there was a little bit of rustiness there. But yeah, I don't know of any new injury or any reoccurring problem. I think it's just a case of sit this one out, Leo. And I echo your thoughts, mate. I hope it's not some kind of weird punishment for that rustiness that we saw in the previous set of internationals. I mean, I really think that Leo's got plenty still to offer. He's only 26. Do you know what I mean? He's a great player. As I said, I think he's got plenty still to offer, and I think we will see him again. But yeah, just it's so interesting with River. You know, I mean, like you've got guys like Diogo Thomas. He made it for a couple of squads and hasn't been selected recently. You know, like we've seen this with River before. Guys can drop in and out of the squad and they can come back. It's if they miss out on one camp, it's not necessarily curtains for them. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, again with Leo Väisänen and as well as I mentioned Diogo Thomas, I think we will see him again in the future.
Okay, maybe
yeah,
we
I think
should.
it's definitely one to. Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's definitely one to watch because his season has finished over in the States. You know, he's not resting for anything. They're not saving him up for any games. These two games would have been his final games of the year until pre-season. So yeah, I think it's one to watch, and I guess we might know more in March when the next games come around to see if he's in that squad.
Yeah, I was just gonna say then let's take a look at the Northern Ireland squad. Keke, was it you that went onto the Northern Ireland podcast at the start of this year for the previous?
Yeah, just prior to my trip to Belfast. Yeah, the guys over at the Northern Ireland football show were kind enough to invite us on to have a little chat with them, which was fantastic. But yeah, you know, that was a cracking little trip. That I probably mentioned it before, but yeah, my second time in Belfast watching Huuhkajat, and yeah, this one was a really, really good, enjoyable trip. And at the start of this campaign, we thought, you know, here we go, we're gonna win this group, but it hasn't quite transpired like that. But yeah, I'm sure those guys over at the Northern Ireland podcast will be quaking in their boots at the prospect of playing us in a chilly Helsinki this week.
Yeah, I'm sure the group hasn't gone how they would have hoped. Whether it's how they expected is another matter. Looking at their squad, there are some to kind of British centric football followers. There's quite a few familiar names in there, but one to start with to pick out for Finnish football followers is Connor Hazard, named as one of the goalkeepers who was at HJK in 2022. Gone back to his parent club Celtic and been loaned out to Plymouth Argyle in the championship. Yeah. I mean, obviously familiar surroundings for Connor Hazard heading back to Helsinki. Great memories for him there. As you say, when you first look Plymouth Argyle, you think, crikey, where on earth is he? But yeah, newsflash, Plymouth Argyle are in the English Championship these days. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what you think about that, Ali. If he's those familiar surroundings are going to do him any favours or what?
Well, I think the move to play, because I wanted Hazard to stay after the end of his loan move, to stay at HJK, because I thought, particularly with his feet, he's really useful. He's one of those sort of typical modern goalkeepers who, he's got a terrific left foot on him as well. Yeah, I mean, I still keep up to date with what Connor's doing over there. I still follow him on social media and stuff, and he seems to be playing quite a bit. I mean, I can't say I'm watching Plymouth Argyle every week. I think there's enough football going around without making Plymouth Argyle a priority. No offense to any Argyle fans out there, of course. But yeah, it should be interesting. He's playing next door to his old stomping ground, and I hope that's not going to that's going to be the only comfort he gets. Whether that's him starting on the pitch on Friday, or whether he's just sitting there getting a bit chilly on the bench. Obviously, wish him well, but not on Friday.
Yeah.
In defence, Northern Ireland have got Johnny Evans, who's having a kind of later career renaissance playing at Man United. That's another one you're seeing a little bit of at the moment. Ali, I guess.
Yeah, but he is actually injured as of the weekend. Yeah. Okay. So he will not be playing, which is only a good thing for us. Because he is very much their talisman. I mean, he's 36, I think, and he's playing international football and for Manchester United. So he still does have a bit about him, and
that tells you a bit more about Northern Ireland and Man United than it does.
I think it does, and the least we talk about Man United on this podcast, the better, I think. But to be fair, he has been playing well for Manchester United, which I think is credit to him, and I think it's a great thing that he's not playing as well, because he does have leadership. And now Northern Ireland are going to have to look elsewhere for leadership on Friday night. Whether that's, I mean, Paddy McNair has been around for quite a few years, I think. I think he also came through at Man United, I think maybe around the Louis van Gaal era. Something around there. I think it was post-Ferguson at least. George Saville is a name I recognise, I think, at Championship level, but I might be wrong about that. So and of course
he's been George Saville, he's been at Wolves, he's been at Sunderland, I believe, and now at Millwall. So a run-of-the-mill Championship player, mate.
And then Josh McGuinness and Connor Washington, I believe, are still in the squad for this week, and they've been around the block as well, sort of around the Championship, top of League One level. So I think they're players that we're going to have to watch as well.
I remember from Keke's spot on the Northern Ireland show that they were really excited about Shay Charles, who at the time was playing he was at Man City. He was not playing much, but he was at Man City, and this year moved to Southampton and seems to have a fair few games under his belt for Southampton in the Championship as well. So that name stuck in my head because they were so excited about him, and I think it's always good to have one or two, even in that Slovenia game, having Šešković's name at the tip of my tongue, even when he was banging in goals. At least it was good to have someone to keep an eye out, and I think I'll be watching out for Shay Charles as well.
I'll tell just if I can quickly, another young lad. He's only 20 years old. Is Isaac Price? Is it Price? Yeah. Isaac Price. He's at Standard Liège. He's come through the youth system at Everton. Moved to Belgium at Standard Liège. Quite a few appearances, scoring one goal. 20 years old. He's one of those kids. We've seen it, or we debate it quite a lot about whether it's good for Finnish youngsters to go abroad. We've got our own youngsters abroad, including in Belgium. But this young kid's gone from the English setup and decided to make a pathway over there in Belgium, and seems to be doing okay. So
didn't do Jude Bellingham any harm to move overseas early, did it?
There you go, mate. There you go. So obviously hoping he doesn't set the world on fire this week, but keep a little eye on Isaac Price.
We wish you all the best after Friday.
Yeah.
Any thoughts? Maybe Ali, first of all, any thoughts on how the team might line up on Friday against Northern Ireland? Who might be in? Who might be out? And the formation. Any thoughts where that might lead?
Yeah, I mean, it will be interesting to see whether it's more of a 3-4-3 kind of attacking minded sort of setup, or whether it's, well, let's go back to a 5. We know we've got that strong core down the middle, and still having 2 up front should still be enough against Northern Ireland. I mean, I have my own thoughts of what I think we should do. I do think River is going to go for it. I think he knows he's got these 2 games. Also with Kazakhstan's fixtures, obviously they have San Marino, so they've got guaranteed 3 points and then they go away to Slovenia, which is a hard game. So obviously we're probably hoping, if we're aiming for 3rd, that they're going to drop points in that one. And goal difference, it could come down to goal difference. So I think Northern Ireland at home, San Marino away, we have to be looking at scoring some goals, because having had a really good goal difference, around sort of June time, that goal difference has really taken a bit of a hammering now. So what I mean, River has been keeping us guessing, because I can't remember whether it was the last qualifiers or the one before. We were dead certain that Taylor was going to start after having set the world on fire with his mate Messi, and he didn't, and he was nowhere to be seen, or he came on against Denmark for the last sort of five minutes. So I think River's going to keep us guessing. So I'm not sure I'm going to predict the 11. I just hope that he really goes for it, because it's literally the only option we have left.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, mate. He simply has to go for this. This is 6 points or bust for River. I think anything less is on the realms of unacceptable. I mean, we were all really disappointed after the last couple of Huuhkajat games, and we came on here and we chatted about, people were starting, the questions started to be asked. Are the cracks showing? Is the revolution grinding to a halt? Blah blah blah. And I think we were unanimous in saying that Marco Canerva did have enough credit in the bank to keep on going. But having said that, this is crunch time now. Northern Ireland at home, having shown the form that they've shown, and with that away win under our belt, and San Marino away, you need 6 points from this. Otherwise, these questions are going to get more serious, and the people asking them are only going to get louder. So Friday night is a biggie.
I was quite sort of enthused by the 6 midfielders that were listed there. Lingman's done okay for Finland in maybe earlier part of this year. Karinen has kind of started to find his place and turned my opinion around about him a bit, and then seeing that sort of alongside those 2, there's Kamara, there's Schuler, there's Taylor. I mean, I would start with those 3. I think that's the strongest midfield 3, with Taylor playing that kind of that linking role, because some of his passing in the last set of fixtures was really excellent, and with the wing backs providing the width. Keke.
Yeah, I was just going to say as well, we bemoaned a little about Glenn Kamara and his contribution to certain recent Finland fixtures, but now he's got his match fitness back. He is looking the real deal at Leeds United.
They seem really happy with him as well, don't they? The fans and that.
They really do. I mean, I don't know if anyone saw Leeds, the match or the highlights from their game at the weekend, but Kamara up high in the opposition box, stealing the ball back from the guy on the edge of the 18-yard box and passing it to his teammate to smash in the net.
Of course he passed it. He didn't shoot.
No, exactly that. Yeah. I mean, do you remember? It must. I don't know how long ago it was, but we had Anthony Miami on here donkeys years ago saying that Glenn Kamara needs to shoot more.
Yeah,
and the
he
message
hasn't shot. He hasn't had a shot since.
But no, in all seriousness, he is back to his hip shaking best. His match fitness is back. So I'm looking for a bit of a performance from him. And like you guys alluded to, you know, Robert Taylor, he needs a chance to start a game in a forward-thinking position where he doesn't have to doesn't have to concentrate on being a defender after time and then am I going forward, blah blah blah. Let's stick him in the midfield where he can hurt teams and see what he can do. Do you know what I mean? And
it also makes a space for Robin Ludd to come back into the squad or into the team, maybe as a sub or maybe in the San Marino game as a sub, whatever. But because I remember saying in the last set of pods that we had that, you know, that position where Taylor seemed to be so effective was sort of the Robin Ludd position. And having had neither of them recently, we'd lost something. And I think now we've got them both back and both playing well. Taylor playing well and Ludd coming back in. That's a positive for the creative side of things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've seen, you know, you mentioned Kaan Kairanen as well. I mean, I've followed a bit of Kaan Kairanen and I've mentioned on here before for Sparta Prague, he has that ability to unlock defenses. You know, he's the one who provides the killer pass. I mean, he takes all their set pieces, free kicks, corners, he's lobbing them in from all over the place. But he can unlock that defence with a killer pass or a little through ball. Just looking to see that a bit more often in a Finland shirt, please, Khan. But yeah, you know, Rive will make the decision, and we all hope it's the right one. But yeah, I think we've got the ability. You know what I mean? It's just the execution we need to make sure is there.
Now, San Marino. What do we know about the San Marino squad? I think I've mentioned in previous episodes, I couldn't find their squad list on social media anywhere. So I went to that UEFA app, and do you know what? Their squad list
again.
The squad was listed there.
Are they paying you or what?
No, not at all. I'm just sharing a very useful resource with the listener, and with the co-presenters. The point of it is it doesn't matter really. It's a bit like the Kazakhstan squad being listed all in their own alphabet and not being able to read it. It doesn't matter because I didn't recognise the names anyway. I think it's notable that they scored and made life very awkward for Denmark. But this seems to be a Denmark team that is qualified, second in the table, but seems to be making heavy work of it, really. So I think we have to try and make sure that, first of all, that San Marino don't score again, because their fan account on Twitter is going to go, yeah, I don't know if you can handle it twice in a season. And that might be a game where we could see some kind of rotation of the squad, like you said. Maybe one of the other goalkeepers gets a game, and you know, a good one for Ludd to come back into a bit later in the game, get a feel for it again. But I guess for you, Keke, most importantly, is you're on the plane again.
I am. I'm making my way to the mountainous autonomous principality. Is it a principality region of San Marino? Yeah, landlocked, minuscule country surrounded by Italy. So we're flying to Bologna, where we're going to indulge in some spaghetti bolognese. What else? And then we're going to San Marino via Rimini, I think. So it should be fun. The WhatsApp group has been named Birra Moretti Away. So so yeah, I'll keep you posted. But no, just an interesting one about the San Marino squad is it shouldn't laugh. Sorry, San Marino, but is you know, from years ago when you used to hear about San Marino, and one of the geezer up front's the bus driver, and the goalie spends Monday to Friday serving kebabs or whatever it is he does. But But yeah,
better than spending Monday to Friday eating kebabs, I suppose.
Indeed. But it's like some of their squad players are where you have their clubs listed adjacent to their name. It does literally say San Marino. So these guys are not, they're not at, a handful of them are not at professional clubs. They are literally, the postman and the candlestick maker and the striker for San Marino at the weekend. So we saw what Finland was able to do to them in Helsinki. Daniel Hawkins had a fantastic game against them. Hoping we'll see a bit of him again. And we need to be turning this mob over, I'm afraid.
Yes, indeed. So, Ali, any insights to add on the San Marino squad or thoughts about what Finland might do on that day?
No, I mean, I think you covered it perfectly about the embarrassment it would be if a goal is conceded. I mean, if Lucas Radetsky is playing, I mean that guy has been keeping out all the best strikers in Germany, some of the best in Europe. I don't know if he can take conceding a goal to that might really hamper his confidence, and then I mean, who knows what would happen after that. But yeah, I think it's all been said. We're going to go there. A bare minimum a 3-goal swing, hopefully with a clean sheet. I'm not saying it's going to be as easy as it would be at home. It never is, but I mean, it has to be 3, 4, 5, surely.
Well, there we go. We'll get those predictions in just a moment. The table as it stands, we sort of alluded to it a little bit, but just for the admin, Slovenia top. Everyone's played eight games, so Slovenia top with 19 points plus 11 goal difference. Denmark second, 19 and plus 10. Kazakhstan third, 15 and plus 3. Finland fourth, 12 points plus 3. And then Northern Ireland fifth with 6 points and minus 2 goal difference. And San Marino bottom, 0 points, 1 goal scored, 26 against for a minus 25 goal difference. And then basically by sort of the Tuesday next week, qualifying will be over. We'll know who's going through from this, and then we can start talking about playoffs from the previous Nations League. It's never boring, is it?
No, that's it. Yeah, keeps on coming.
Right. So I trailed earlier that we'd have a little bit of Rich Nelson in this episode. So first of all, we're going to do some predictions. But first of all, Rich, what are you predicting?
My prediction for the upcoming Finland internationals, I have a feeling that Northern Ireland at home this week, Finland 2-0 victory there. Northern Ireland have been pretty poor this qualifying campaign, and while they gave Finland a good or a tough match in the away match earlier in the year, I think Finland's quality, certainly up front, should make the difference there. And for the final game, San Marino away, I'll go for 3-0. I don't think it'll be quite as open as the home match in Helsinki in June. And I imagine San Marino will be slightly buoyed after their impressive showing and first goal in, 2 years against Denmark in the last international round. And I think this should give a good opportunity for a couple of players to come in, the new names in the squad, the returning Fredrik Jensen, for example. But I think with the Euro playoffs coming up in March, or at least one, and we'll be hoping that this should give Rive a little bit of an opportunity to see what the future's looking like. And, the main thing for now is finish this group strongly and do their best to get the best possible fixtures in March.
Okay, so I'm gonna go last this time because I'm in charge. I've got the buttons. So Keke, what are you thinking for Finland versus Northern Ireland? And the listener can hear
Finland,
me typing it into the notes as we speak.
Finland versus Northern Ireland. I mean, as I said, I see this as a must-win game for us. So yeah, I mean, I do think Northern Ireland will have a go. I think they'll offer something of a threat. Ali's just said that Lukas Radecki's keeping everybody at bay in one of the top leagues in Europe. So I'm not sure that, despite banging on the door, that Northern Ireland are going to break through. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 home win, 2-0 to Finland.
Okay. And what about San Marino away?
San Marino away, again, well, after what we did to them at home, and, you know, I'm sure at their place, they're going to try and park their giant bus that their central defender drives around to pick people up every day. Sorry, the bad job jokes again. But no, I'm looking for a 5-0 to us. So I know, you know, I can see by your reaction, Mark, you're thinking I've got in heavy there. But I think once we break that defence down, they'll panic a bit, and we can put a few past them. So yeah, I'm going for 5-0 away win.
I think if we've got you in the stands, Keke, anything's possible.
Indeed.
Ali, what are you thinking?
So on Friday, I'm going to go for a 3-1 home victory.
It's a goal fest.
Yeah.
And San Marino away.
And San Marino, we will win 4-0.
Okay. And I've also gone for Finland 2, Northern Ireland 0, San Marino 0, Finland 4. So we're the only person who's predicted us conceded a goal is Ali with a 3-1 win. So we're feeling bullish, aren't we? Which is quite brave. I mean, it reflects the opposition, but after the way the previous two games went, we're all feeling rather bold, aren't we? Okay.
Well, we're always quite optimistic. We need our mate Mark Hayton back to bring us back down to earth.
Yeah, that's right. I did ask him for his predictions, but he hasn't got back to me yet. If he does before I publish, then I'll add them.
Yeah, he's still renovating that sauna.
I think he is. Yeah. Okay, that's the Huuhkajat games previewed. What about Ali? HJK Helsinki in the Europa Conference League. You were there last week. We previewed, or you previewed, the game HJK versus Eintract Frankfurt. Talk us through the game.
He's still apoplectic. Look at him.
Yeah, you can you sense the bitterness through the screen, because it hasn't got any easier, because I mean, the morning after in particular, there was news articles about what I will get to, the goal that never was. I'll come to that in a minute. But pre-game, really good atmosphere. The Frankfurt fans got into the stadium really early on, as I think they were encouraged to by UEFA. But yeah, the game took a while to get going. That's not a metaphor. It literally took an extra 6 minutes, because both the Frankfurt fans and the HJK fans set off flares, as is kind of customary, I guess, in these kind of games. And it was already quite a foggy night anyway. So the smoke from the flares meant that we had a 6-minute delay at the beginning of the game. And the
smoke just sitting in the mist and lingering in the air. Lovely.
It was, and it made some amazing photos. But yeah, you couldn't really see too much of what was going on. But yeah, when the game did eventually kick off, Frankfurt started stronger, as you'd kind of expect. They kept the ball very well. You know, this is a team that's having a good season in the Bundesliga. They've got this new manager who, Dino Topmüller, I think is his name, off the top of my head. He has been Julian Nagelsmann's assistant at Bayern Munich and at RB Leipzig. So he definitely comes from a school of football where possession-based high pressing is exactly what they want to do. And it was hard to get the ball off Frankfurt, but HJK really stuck into it, and it was a worldie of a goal. from Frankfurt in the 30th minute. No one was saving that at all. It was top bins. I mean, I think there was maybe a foul on Bande in the build-up, but I mean that wasn't the worst refereeing decision of the night, so I'm not going to linger on that. But I will get to that refereeing decision now. There was a free kick later on in the second half, whipped in, and before Tenho even headed it in, the referee blew his whistle. And so no one really knew what it was for, but the fact that he blew the whistle immediately, we felt, what is it, for a foul? Is it for an offside? But I was right behind the goal. I was right behind the goal, the build-up, the movement. I could see everything. There was not a foul in that build-up. So then we thought, well, maybe it's an offside, and we've just missed that. And then the game carried on. Risky came on for the last sort of few minutes, maybe his final ever game for HJK, and nearly scored a bicycle kick in the 92nd minute, which would have been
some way to go out.
Yeah, it would have been fantastic. And I think everyone was sort of mouth was aghast at that point of what might have been. But it finished 1-0. HJK really battled, particularly the last sort of 10-15 minutes. Frankfurt realised that they were in a bit of a game. But yeah, couldn't find that breakthrough. Frankfurt could have scored another one in the second half as well. So I'm not going to come on here and say that, you know, HJK went toe-to-toe perfectly with Frankfurt. Not at all. They're a quality team. But yeah, then the next morning, all these videos were coming out of different angles and what did the referee see, and the conclusion is he needs to go to Specsavers because there was no foul in that. We've all seen it.
So is that the official? That's the official line. There was a foul in the box.
That's the. I mean, I haven't heard any official line at all. Whether because everyone's sort of asked the question, they've highlighted what was going on in the box, and there just isn't a foul. There isn't an offside. There isn't even one of those offsides that they have now where there's a player that's in between the ball and the goalkeeper. There's none of that. So yeah, HJK have been denied what would have been a historic draw. And of course it wouldn't have affected their progression going through. I never really felt overly confident that HJK would get out of that group, but even though the result wasn't the best, I think from a performance-wise, the club can be really proud of what they did last Thursday.
Am I right in saying, Ali, that Nicky Meyenbar was back between the sticks after he had a bit of an injury, didn't he?
Yeah, he was, which I was quite surprised about because I thought that injury was a season ender, possibly even, you know, career ender, depending on what he was going to be wanting to do next year. But he came back in the sticks and was brilliant. He wasn't rusty at all. He made some fantastic saves. There was quite early on like a massive goalmouth scramble that included maybe about 3 saves, a block off the line, one of those real sort of heart in your mouth moments. But it was really nice to see Nicky back because I think initially when he was signed, I sort of thought, oh, is this just one of those you know, older Finnish players coming back to HJK, as happens quite a bit, just wanting to play in Helsinki for one final season. But he's really contributed, and yeah, I'm not sure if it's been announced what he plans to do after this season, but he could certainly carry on playing because he's looked certainly younger than his years, that's for sure.
In the previous game, Jesse Öst played in goal in the 6-0 defeat.
Yeah.
Was this change of goalkeeper sort of based on that, on his performance there?
I'd be surprised if it was, because I mean, Jesse Öst has been quite a popular player this year, but as soon as the bigger qualifying games came around, Meyenbar was playing in those games, so it sort of felt it was more of a just a personnel choice.
Yeah, okay.
Manpower is going to be playing in these games. So I don't think it's a reflection on necessarily what the club think of him, because I know they've offered him, well, no, he's signed a contract now. So he's definitely staying for next season. So, yeah, of course, when you get thumped 6-0, I'm sure there's a couple of fans and commentators that are always going to look at the goalkeeper and his performance. But I think, yes, he's still fairly well considered at HJK.
Yeah, you just mentioned there, mate. He signed a deal for next year, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which also might give us an indicator that maybe Nicky Mampart isn't staying, or if he's going to go somewhere else, or maybe he's retiring. I'm not sure. I mean,
who knows?
I think even though there have been times where Öst has been number 2, he's still played quite a decent amount of games and has played pretty well. So it's not like he's always going to be a number 2 and sat on the bench. I think there has been quite a bit of rotation between the goalkeepers at HJK. So yeah, let's watch this space and see what happens.
All right, and the upcoming fixtures for HJK, November the 30th is at home to Aberdeen, and then the whole thing finishes on December the 14th away to PAOK. So goes long past the end of the Finnish season, doesn't it? Especially for HJK, who didn't have any of this playoffs business. I don't know how they're keeping themselves trim. They've got kind of 3 weeks between the Frankfurt game and Aberdeen, and then another couple of weeks until the PAOK game.
Yeah, I mean, it means they're going to be well rested, that's for sure. But I think, I mean, what was interesting is the first Frankfurt game that came immediately after winning the league. So maybe it was the kick up the arse that they needed, having secured that league title. I mean, of course, going away to Frankfurt is difficult for 95% of the teams in Europe anyway. But yeah, I'll be at the Aberdeen game. I'm going on to the Aberdeen football podcast on Wednesday, so hopefully I can say a few words and spook them out a little bit.
Were you on there before, or was one of?
Yes.
You were there.
I went on in the reverse fixture, and now just before they come over, we're recording. So yeah, they're a nice bunch, and I might go for a beer with them beforehand. But I'm hoping HJK will be winning that game. So yeah, pleasantries can happen before the game.
Quite right. So the Group G table in the Europa Conference League currently looks like, after 4 games, PAOK top with 10 points and +3 goal difference. Eintracht Frankfurt second with 9 points +7. Aberdeen are third with 2 points, -2, and HJK bottom with 1 point and -8 goal difference. There ain't no getting out of that group now. There's no more competitions for HJK to drop down into, apart from next season's Veikkausliiga, so that'll have to do you now. But hopefully a few more points, and we all know, as Keke said last week, points make prizes in the European competition. So it's very important for the whole of the Veikkausliiga that a little bit more money goes to HJK.
It trickles down, right?
Yeah, let's say that.
That's its own podcast. That's its own podcast. We'll save that for the close season.
Speaking of which,
well, the Veikkausliiga.
No, I was just saying, the cash flow problems that are besetting clubs all over Finland.
Well, okay, so that was what you were referring to, and that brings us on to the next section. You're right, of kind of big news stories even from the Veikkausliiga. And although he's not here tonight, we have a man who has all the info we need on these stories.
Hi, this is Rich. Just thought I'd talk a little bit around the issues that are affecting a couple of clubs in Finland over the last couple of weeks. One in particular, on a financial basis anyway. FC Honka, who came third in 2022 and had an okay season in 2023, despite losing two of their best players. It appears they're not applying for a licence to play in the Veikkausliiga in 2024. They failed to pay their players in October of this year, and despite making the best part of €1 million from player sales of Rui Modesto and Agon Sadiku in the winter, they've been, looks like things are going back to where they were in 2014 when the club essentially folded and took their own academy's place in the Kakkonen. What happens next, we're still waiting to see. The captain, Henry Alto, said, he's been the real sort of voice over the last few weeks, talking about what's happening with the pay, and he was the one who announced the non-licence, and they're working with the Players Association to make sure that everyone gets what they need. A lot of this has come from Helsingin Sanomat, MTV, doing a lot of reports. The team manager, Heksi Arteva, has resigned. Obviously in Finland, manager is slightly different from head coach. The head coach is still in position. But it looks like Gnistan, the Helsinki club who came second in the Ykkönen this season and lost the league qualifier to Mariehamn, they are in the process of applying for a licence should the place of Honka in next season's Veikkausliiga be offered to them. How that's going to go, we don't know. But I think, it's not good times for Honka. It's the second time in less than a decade that they've gone into such financial perils. What happens with the parent company of Honka, eSport, we're not sure yet. And even today, Monday, the city of Espoo talking about the good news that the Tapiola Stadion may still be renovated as planned, but who plays there, we yet to see. In Kuopio, KuPS, my club, they've their president Ari Lahti, their owner Ari Lahti, who's the president of the Finnish FA, he's gone on record this year, a couple of weeks ago, to Helsingin Sanomat as well, saying that he's not really looking into spending €2 million a year just to offset the losses of the club. And this century, KuPS have only made profits in 2 of the 23 years so far. It's a big move. We yet to see how that will affect the budgets, the player budget, the overall club statements that come out before the start of each season. But I think the era of KuPS going out and trying to spend big money on wages and things like that are probably going to be heading into the horizon a little bit. I think they've let quite a few players go. They're one of the few coaches certainly in the top half to retain their manager for next season, as Jani Honkavaara is going to be staying for another year after his decent 2023. And even though the women's team won the league and cup double, I think their budget is going to be affected as well, unfortunately. The last financial year they made a loss of €1.8 million. So definitely big changes need to be done, and I think Ari Lahti, for all his good intentions, can't be bankrolling that too much.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Keke, there was also a sad story about Inter Turku's supporter group, Armada Turku. Now, we consider them friends of the pod because one of their members anonymously came on the pod a couple of years ago to talk about their activities, but there was a story that they've decided to fold the Armada from 2024 onwards.
A bit of a strange one. Armada Turku are one of the loudest supporter groups from FC Inter Turku. There was a social media post saying that they had decided to disband, and the only reason we can sort of see behind that decision is that someone from maybe a rival group has come along and stolen their banner and done lots of nasty things with it, and so they've come to the conclusion that they can no longer continue. I mean, these supporter groups are absolutely vital to Finnish football, to the culture of football supporting in Finland, and a lot of these, I mean, you'll know yourself, Mark, from working with Larry and those guys in the Kloppet, but some of these guys work extremely hard to arrange buses for away trips. Getting tickets and bits and bobs worked out. A lot of them put time and effort into designing stickers and tifos and banners and flags that they display at the games to inject a bit of atmosphere into the match going experience. And Armada Turku will be sadly missed from the supporter scene in Finland. I mean, I just hope sincerely that the lads who were involved in making Armada Turku one of the prominent ultra groups in Finland decide to get together and reform a new group so they can enjoy their afternoons and get behind their team. So yeah,
it was a very short post. It was like an image with a little bit of text, but it does say Inter supporters activities will continue in the East Stand even stronger. So you know, the name of the Armada is being retired, but the fans are not, and that's a good thing, because that's the whole point of why we do this about football in Finland, because we're supporters and, you know, don't want to see other clubs having a tough time.
That's it.
Okay, let's hear again from Rich on some rather more sleazy stories that have been stinking up the Veikkausliiga in the past week or so. Rich.
In some other dark news in Finnish football, it's been definitely a couple of weeks. Inter Turku fired their head coach, Jarkko Viss, last week, as Mark mentioned in our breaking news in the last podcast. It transpired that on towards the end of October, at the club's end of season event, he was allegedly behaving in an inappropriate manner towards a female member of staff, and the club sacked him pretty quickly. Again, the chairman, Nicholas Harkins, said he did not. The values of the club were not represented by the head coach, and he was sacked after a year in charge. When, you know, he's well regarded as a coach in Finland. Won 2 titles with Tampere United and did well with Ilves. But yeah, we're waiting to see what comes of this. But other than that, he's been sacked. So another coach has gone, and in Vasa, the VPS sporting director, Janni Lindberg, was, well, as VPS referred to it, was released from his position on Friday. He was. It emerged last week that he had been inappropriately messaging female members of staff and was given a written warning in the summer. After that, some investigative journalism was going on, and more people came forward saying, you know, some of the behaviour went beyond messaging, and some of the sponsors of the club started to talk, and as money tends to do in these circumstances, and VPS sacked him on Friday morning. So it's been a difficult couple of weeks in Finland on two major topics, but I think it's going to be a long winter as we wait and see how these clubs deal with these things, and, you know, like a lot of things, this may encourage some other inappropriate behaviour to be reported. But I think where we are, a lot of clubs and a lot of people are going to need to look at themselves and, going forward, improve things both on and off the pitch.
Okay, thanks again, Rich, and we hope to have you back in person next time. It's all to do with work schedules, listener. We can't all be here all the time. But Keke, you had finally I guess our final story, you had some news about some Finns playing over in Sweden.
Yes, so the Swedish seasons for men and women have drawn to a close. Focusing on the women's game first of all, Hammarby were crowned Damallsvenskan champions, or Svenska Mästare, as in my perfect Swedish. So Hammarby getting that gold medal meant that 3 Helmarit got to celebrate. So Anna Tamminen, who we've mentioned a couple of weeks ago or a week or so ago for heroics in goal for Hammarby and a 700-minute streak of not conceding a goal, she was rewarded with a gold medal. Eva Nyström, who assisted Anna in a defensive position, also crowned a Swedish champion, and Adelina Engman is also at Hammarby. She's picked up an injury recently, so hasn't played the penultimate games, but yeah, she also got to get that gold medal around her neck. So the whole of the Hammarby supporting region of Stockholm went absolutely bananas, and yeah, the ladies had a good celebration long into the night, I understand. So yeah, kudos to them and congratulations, or grattis, as they say in, again, perfect Swedish.
Was there anything else over there, Keke?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, moving on to the men's game with, you might remember our old friend Niklas Moisander. He's of grabbing the referee round the neck fame against Iceland all those years ago. He's been crowned a Swedish champion in the men's game. So Malmö, they've been crowned Swedish champions. So Niklas has been playing there. I'd be lying if I told you how many appearances he's had this season. But yeah, for those who are interested, they can look it up. And he's claimed the top spot. I mean, yeah, all across. There's a few things all across Sweden. I mean, Rasmus Schuller's Djurgården, they sort of flattered to deceive a little bit. We was hoping for good things from them. They've ended up finishing fourth, just outside the European places, which I'm sure will be disappointing for Rade and also for the wider Djurgården supporting public. But it would have been nice to see them back in the Europa Conference League or something like that. But yeah, they just miss out. But yeah, we spoke about the Huuhkajat squad at the top of the show, and someone who is a forgotten man for Huuhkajat, really. Simon Skrab has been absolutely setting the Allsvenskan on fire, really. He's been chipping in with goals and assists. It was his 2 goals, actually, that undid Djurgården in the final game of the season with his side, Kalmar, winning 2-0. Or was it 2-0, 2-1, something like that? But yeah, but Simon Skrab got both of those goals for Kalmar. They finished 6th in the league. And yeah, I said myself, not half an hour ago, that River doesn't mind recalling people who have been out the squad for a while. So maybe it's time he tuned into the Allsvenskan and see what Simon Skrab was up to.
That is a name that I remember from a few years ago making the podcast, and I can't remember much about his style of play. But what can you remember? What sort of player he is? Obviously, he's on a goal scoring run at the moment. What sort of striker is he?
Yeah, I mean, he's not the tallest in the world, like a bit like me, really, little and stocky, low centre of gravity, but he can get up and he can nod them in, powerful shot. I mean, he's been doing it all for Kalmar, so it's a bit of a strange one how he's not been reselected for the Huuhkajat squad. I mean, I'm sure he's as confused as we are, but he's actually he does his own podcast called Finsvenskan, I think it's called, which is Swedish language podcast about Finns in Swedish football. Okay. So yeah.
Well, I thought we were niche.
Yeah, managed to get that out, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. He's probably looking in the mirror thinking, "What on earth have I got to do?" So,
well, let's watch this space and see if he manages to force his way into River's thinking.
Yeah, and there was also another bit of news from Sweden. It looks like Matti Peltola might be joining Rasmus Schuller at Djurgården. There's some rumours that transfer could be going through.
Very good. Ali, before we wrap up, have you got anything you want to add?
No, I mean, I'm glad Keke just mentioned that story about Peltola because, I mean, I think he's been brilliant this season. So, yeah, I'd be sad if he does leave HJK, but it can only be a good thing for the Finnish national team, and he has certainly earned his a move if that does eventually go through.
Very good. Okay, I think then that's probably a good place to wrap it up. Before we do, listener, just to let you know that the Finnish football show is now on Bluesky. We're so ahead of the curve. boys. So if the listener wants to move away from the cesspit that is Twitter, come over and find us on Bluesky. We'll be keeping our individual Twitter accounts, but we've decided to set one up specifically for Finnish Football Show over there on Bluesky. And if you don't know what Bluesky is, it's apparently it's like Twitter but for nice people. So that's why we're on. All right, that's it. Ali, thanks for being here tonight.
Kiitos.
And Keke, good to speak to you. Enjoy your trip to San Marino, and we'll speak again in a week or so.
Grazie, ciao.
And listener, until next episode, thanks for joining us. Bye.
You've been listening to the Finnish Football Show. You can find us online at finishfootballshow.com. Remember to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening or watching. You can follow the Finnish Football Show page and group on Facebook and also on Instagram. See the links in the episode description. You can also connect with the 5 hosts on Twitter, at Explore Finland, at FC Suomi, at Escape to Suomi, at Keke and at Mano99. Links to the Finnish Football Show merch stores are also in the episode description.